justice. Some heat too. I'll let you blow my mind.
Well, welcome everybody to the eighth episode of the I Fought the Law podcast. And I don't think many people out there are going to recognize this guy sitting with me today. Baker, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I would love to, Steve. Thank you. My name is Baker Hilverda. I am a senior at Xavier Charter School here in Twin Falls.
And who's your dad?
My dad is Brian Hilverda, the vice president of I Fought the Law podcast.
Who's the president?
The vice president.
I was just assuming you were.
Thanks. I needed that, Baker.
Welcome.
You said I could be vice president.
Your dad's flipping me off the camera. Oh, never mind. He flipped you off.
He flipped me off.
But I was the one that saw it. I had my feelings hurt for a minute.
Yeah.
All right, Baker. You are a senior in high school.
Yes.
And you have a senior project
A
that
senior
you're doing.
project.
Tell me about it.
So, for my senior project, we're doing a charity concert to benefit Voices Against Violence.
All right, so let's break it down.
Yes.
Number one, what's Voices Against Violence?
Voices Against Violence is a organization here in the Magic Valley, and they're like a domestic abuse kind of safe house place, and they have resources, counseling, anything for women and children that need it or a place to
That's
go.
awesome.
It
So
is super cool.
How did you get to know Voices Against Violence?
So I have my own nonprofit organization, the Great Day Project.
Awesome.
So I've done stuff for them before.
How many fundraisers have you done in the past?
I want to say 3, I would think,
Awesome.
if I'm remembering correctly.
So this will be your fourth?
This is number 4.
All right, so tell us about the event. It's going to sponsor Voices Against Violence. Our firm is a huge advocate for Voices Against Violence. I see them in the courthouse doing great work all the time. I've had clients that they've taken in. I've had them do safety plans for women and children in need. So I love that you're benefiting Voice Against Violence. What's the event that you're doing?
So the event is titled Rockin', no G, Rockin' for a Cause. It's going to be a charity concert. We have right now 3 local bands. Extra Credit, that's my band. Run Amok, that's your band.
Yeah.
And then Bad Habit, another local band.
Who's Bad Habit? I don't know.
I don't know them either, but they're from CSI.
And what kind of music?
They're more punk rock.
What about your band?
We're more rock, indie rock. And then what about you, Steve? What are you guys?
We play a little punk rock.
You guys are punk all the way.
You're throwing a punk rock concert to benefit Voices Against Violence. I love it.
Isn't it awesome?
Okay, when is it?
It's going to be March 30th. Right here we have our poster.
Yeah.
March 30th at 7 to 10 p.m. down at the Orpheum Theater, a couple doors down.
Okay, so anybody out there, this should be out way before March 30th. Go down to the Orpheum. Do they need to get tickets? Buy at the door? What's the dynamic?
We're going to have buy at the door, cash or card accepted. And then right now we're setting up a pre-order. You'll get an online ticket. You could pay Apple Pay, PayPal, Venmo, or you put your card information in.
Okay, once that's up, we'll make sure to put it on our podcast, Facebook, and all of our platforms. We'll put it on our law firm's platform to make sure that we get lots of people down there to support it. The Orpheum's website
The
too.
Orpheum website.
Okay, do we know the Orpheum's website?
I do not.
OrpheumTwinFalls.com.
Okay,
Just like that.
You can see wonderful posters.
Hold on, I'm looking at this poster, and you put your personal Gmail account on this, or did you create another one?
No, it's my personal.
Never do that, Baker.
It's all I got. It's either that or my school email, which I'm not allowed to use
You know
outside
it's
of school.
free to start new emails.
I don't see the problem here.
Oh, later on tonight, I'm going to be emailing you things to teach you a lesson.
Okay.
Okay,
I appreciate that.
Your dad's giving me the glare. Okay, but yeah, don't use your personal one. You're gonna have to change it. After all the young ladies out there get your contact information, your life's about to change, Baker.
You know, if the young ladies want to contact me through email, they're gonna have to try a little harder.
Okay, good enough. What's the cost for this event?
So we got a couple prices. For your average Joe, your regular working person, it's going to be $20.
Okay.
If you bring in a student ID, that's Xavier Twin Falls High School, Cane Ridge High School, CSI, any student ID, anywhere, it's going to cut in half down to $10 a person.
Okay.
Or if you're 10 years old or under, it's going to be $5 a person.
That is a cheap concert.
I would.
I'm
right.
not saying anything about the quality of the bands that are playing.
No.
I've heard 2 of them.
They're up there with the greats.
Yes, they are.
And,
Okay.
you know,
Well, I'm excited, and it's obviously for a good cause.
obviously.
We're thrilled to be part of it, honestly. And I know that we've already donated some money to this. Yes, I remember you coming into my office and asking me for money for something, and I handed you some money.
You know, and I appreciate that,
Oh,
Steve.
yeah, no problem. I'm glad that at that time you weren't 100% certain who who you would be benefiting, but now seeing who you are, I'm thrilled. Well, thanks, Baker.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Okay, you need anything, you reach out to us and to the fine folks on the interweb who are listening, and let's get a lot of people down there to benefit.
You know what, Steve? It's going to be fucking awesome.
Sorry, Bonnie. Oh, no.
Well, it's been fun, Steve. I appreciate,
no.
I appreciate
Did I just have to apologize to your grandmother?
Yeah.
Sorry,
she's a
Bonnie.
lovely lady.
She is a lovely lady. She's listening right now.
I don't think she watches these.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
But otherwise, who am I apologizing
I don't
to?
know.
All right. You've got to get to work. Get out of
I
here.
got to get to work. I appreciate you, Steve.
And let's get the less intelligent Hilverda back on the podcast. Bye, Baker.
Love you, buddy.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Steve.
Well, welcome back. Did you just hear your son drop an F-bomb?
I hear my son dropping F-bomb all the time.
Does Bonnie hear him drop the F-bomb?
No, he would never swear in front of Bonnie.
Well, he just did.
He just did. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Bonnie.
Sorry, Grandma Bonnie.
We actually scripted that before, and I was supposed to cuss, and he
You
was
forgot.
supposed to say, sorry, Bonnie, but
And
I
then he-
forgot.
You blew it, and he pulled through. He's
He
got your
did.
back.
So
so
that really was my fault, Bonnie. I'm really sorry. I was the one that was supposed to sin and not your grandson, but I sort of forced it. All right, Brian. get
it's
us
hot
cut-
in here, Steve.
It is hot in here.
I'm thirsty. What do we have to drink today?
Well, today we
Ooh.
brought in some other local alcohol.
Yes.
This is vodka from the Warfield Distillery. This is distilled up in Ketchum, Idaho. Those that go to Sun Valley will know the Warfield right on the main strip. It has a weird, it's weirdly close to our heart because we had a case associated with the Warfield, but it's a fantastic vodka. I know they do gin and they've started doing whiskey too. They've only got a few years into their whiskey, but it's getting better.
Well, let's give it a try.
Okay. And Zach, do you want a Moscow Mule?
Yes. That would
All
be
right.
great.
Okay.
Ooh, look at that pour.
A really strong Moscow Mule, apparently. Brian just
Wow.
poured you a Brian serving.
No,
of,
he gets
of
the
vodka.
Voodoo Donut mug. Sorry, we don't have 3 copper mugs,
bad.
but I just filled yours was basically vodka. So
There we go.
yeah, you
Do we
got
have
it.
some limes?
I picked
Yeah,
a good
right there.
one to have these mic stands that don't have the banging of the table bother them.
Oh, that's all right. You know what? I trust our producer will be able to.
No, it's perfect because they're not even on the table, so you don't even hear that.
Perfect. All right.
Slide the limes over, Stevie.
You got it. And Zach, you're going to get your own limes. Don't trust my fingers.
I trust your fingers to the
I
moon and
was
back.
waiting for a joke of some sort.
Yeah, we're not making that joke. Not with Zach.
Oh, no. Look at I was going to be cool. Oh, I
I'm
got it.
sensitive.
All right. Let's why, Steve,
Yes, sir.
is the Warfield significant to Hilverda McRae?
So we partnered up how many years ago? Almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
And when you came on, I had an influx of sort of civil cases. I had way too many, and I needed somebody to help out. And thus you came on, and we've built since then. But one of those civil cases involved the Warfield. I had it at first, and then you ended up taking it over because it was more of a insurance claim. By the way, everything we're saying is public record. I'm not going to disclose any confidential information about
In fact, it may have even been before the Warfield was the Warfield.
It was.
Yeah.
So it was just called the Casino Block up in Kimberly. And our client.
Ketchum.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I said Kimberly. Yeah, Ketchum. Thanks. Here, turn that to where the fine folk can see Warfield Distillery. There we go. And having a bottle of vodka in front of a poster that benefits Voices Against Violence. Probably not the most tactful thing in the world, but we're doing it. So anyways, the Casino Block up in Ketchum, there's a building that is like on the main corner, and in the back there is a staircase that you can go up, and now they use that because there's like a rooftop patio at the Warfield. If you ever go to the Warfield, you can see that you look over a little ledge and there's other rooftops that have relatively easy access, and that's what happened. There was a music concert going on
On the main street there.
Yeah,
They had closed it down.
That's right. And some guy climbed up to where the Warfield's upstairs patio is, hopped the banister or hopped the wall, went on top of some other buildings, was trying to watch the concert, and he was intoxicated.
Significantly, yes.
Significantly intoxicated, and he misjudged where the ledge was, and unfortunately he fell off the building and just so happened to land on some of the security at the
This is where it takes kind of a
the
sad
event.
turn because
super sad turn. Up until this point, it's kind of just a young kid being an idiot and can be funny, but significantly hurt the security guard, who in turn sued, I think, the concert venue, the kid himself, and by kid, it wasn't he like 20?
yeah.
All right, so not young kid, and the building owners. And just so happens that our clients of all of the buildings that are insured, his insurance agent didn't insure the one that the kid fell off of.
Yes.
And so opened them up to some potential ownership liability. You got involved.
That's how it started.
That's
It
right.
came to me before we had partnered up.
And I forget what happened.
And I
from
had
there.
sued the insurance company because for not covering, they didn't defend them. They just kind of hung them out to dry. And so we were suing the
That's
insurance company, but we had passed on the defense of this claim to you because we couldn't handle both
That's what it
when
was.
you were on your own.
That's right.
And so then we continued litigating against the insurer and the agent who didn't cover the right building. Then I left that firm and I left that case there, but I came to,
That's right.
partner up with you, and you had the defense of the case. So we were still working at like an insurance claim and an insurance case because it was, and we were also working at like a defense of a personal injury claim, which is not normal for us.
How often do you go to the Warfield?
Oh, a few times a year.
Yeah, if I'm up in Sun Valley, I love going there. I think
Yeah.
it's great food, great drinks. Perfect
fact.
location.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
That it used to be, oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name. Same building on the corner there was a bar.
We're not-
Roosevelt.
Yeah, the Roosevelt. That's right.
Roosevelt. And my cousin owned it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a small
Small world.
community.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway.
now the Warfield I love going there. Great drinks. I love their vodka in particular. It's clean. How do you like your meal?
It's probably the cleanest meal I've had, honestly.
Nice. Yeah, great distillery.
Solid pour, I think. I credit to that. That and the Voodoo donut mug just
Oh,
are
yeah,
essential for a good meal.
I'm gripping it by the hole, honestly. Like, I don't know how you use the handle on this. when
Let's not say grabbing it by the hole on the podcast.
Speaking of which,
You
what's
could
our
be president one day.
Yeah.
what's our subject today?
Oh, thanks for getting us on track.
All
Zach.
right, Brian, but give us an update on all things Hilverda McRae or Run Amok.
Well, we're excited about being on Rockin' for a Cause. We are working on some new material, some of which might be available at Rockin' for a Cause. Might not be. We'll see.
Little out of our wheelhouse.
A little bit, trying something new, but that's good.
Uh-huh.
We're growing as artists in our craft.
Number one, I've listened to us.
We are
Not artist, no craft.
You would think after 5 years we would have improved.
Nope.
That is not the case.
Oh no. Come to find out, this was announced. We are part of the show. Posters are made, and I have friends coming into town from California that week. And I'm pretty sure my wife's a little embarrassed to take them to the show. were that good. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm
Yeah.
okay with it either way.
Yes. Other than that, I attended an Idaho trial lawyers event last weekend, or the weekend before, or the week before, I should say. It's great to see trial lawyers from across the state. Got to roast my old boss and friend, Jerem Whitehead.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Great lawyer.
And was up on the stage with some mighty lawyers and justices and that sort of thing, all cracking jokes at Jerem and the other roastees' expense, which was kind of fun. Had a good time, and some funny jokes were made. Some not funny jokes were made.
Did you say any not funny jokes?
Oh, I think most of mine were not funny.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, but you know what else isn't funny, Steve?
What's that?
Losing employees.
Yeah, and that's the topic of the day, Zach.
Yes.
And halfway in, and there's the topic.
Halfway there.
We're 17 minutes in.
Holy crap.
Awesome.
Our longtime office manager, my assistant going back before we even partnered up, gave her notice this week that she was going to be leaving Hilverda McRae in a month. And I got to be honest, I still am kind of sad. But she was doing it to be closer to her son and his wife.
No,
And
it flat out sucks. I don't
it
care what
sucks,
reason. Yeah, she's got a
but
family.
I can't
and
be
her
mad
son's
about it.
awesome, but she can't leave us.
I know.
I'm mad about it. You don't be.
I'm sad.
Tammy?
My heart is broken.
Yeah, it's
No,
bad.
it's going to be hard because I spend a lot of time with Tammy, and I consider her a dear friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it'll be sad to see her go.
We're losing part of the Hilverda McRae family. And weirdly, the reason why we thought of the topic of the day, we want to talk about just sort of hiring
Funny stories from employment.
Yeah, fun stories from employment past, which starts with Tammy announcing she's going to leave. So last week,
The series of events that had to fall into place for this story to happen is like, what's that movie, The Butterfly Effect? Where it's like you miss like one little thing and it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
But because a couple of
was it like a Sound of Thunder or something?
yeah,
like
something.
yeah,
But all of the things that had to fall into place for this story is incredible.
So last week I had a trial that was very intense. It was a criminal trial. I was defending my client. Obviously, I don't prosecute. And I had been prepping. And when I get in trial mode, I am very intense. I only can focus on that. Just ask my wife. And my mind goes solely into my client's world. And that's where I was. And so with that, for the days up to trial, I'm prepping. And what I didn't know was that the day I started the trial, which was last Tuesday, Tammy came to Brian and said, "Hey, I'm gonna
Gave
leave."
her notice.
Yeah, gave her notice, and she gave us a lot of notice, and she was very gracious about it. But Brian didn't bother me with these details because I'm in the middle of a trial. So I start day one, and in this trial that was scheduled to go 3 to 4 days, we picked some alternate jurors. So we had more than 12 because you need 12 for a felony trial. And we picked 13. And normally that's fine. If you go into like a week to 2 weeks, sometimes you'll pick 2.
Yeah.
Well,
2 extras.
yeah, two extras.
But nobody
And
knows they're the extra until the end.
That's right. So yeah, and that's a good point. So you start a jury, you have 14 people up there, 13 or 14, depending on the length of the trial. And if something happens to a juror during the trial, they can leave and you have others. If nothing happens to a jury, then at the conclusion of the trial, you randomly pick out names of the people that are now the alternates, and they don't get to decide it. I always feel bad for those folks because
I
they
do
have to
too.
sit through the whole thing.
Yes.
So anyways, it's Tuesday of last week. I have started this trial. We picked the jury. I know them very well. I've reviewed their information. I've questioned them, all of that. And we start the trial on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, no.
Let me jump in there.
Yeah.
Let me jump in there. That as soon as Tammy gave notice, I posted a job opening on Indeed to open it up to people to apply. Tammy gave us a lot of notice, so that there would hopefully be some overlap between her leaving and them starting, so she could help them get accustomed. So that job posting was out on Indeed, and we started getting applications rolling in.
That's right.
In addition to that, I was working on a Supreme Court brief
That's right.
for the Idaho Supreme Court on a case. And it's a pretty big deal. Like those briefs are pretty heady and they take a while and a lot of research and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so I was stressed.
Yeah.
I was stressed. I'll be honest, dear podcast listeners, my mental health was not in a great place.
Yeah. You had a rough week.
I had a rough week.
And I had a rough week. I'm in trial. So.
I wasn't sleeping. And so finally, was it Thursday? It was Thursday. When I couldn't sleep for like the third night in a row, I finally just got up super early and came into the office so I could work on the brief because I wasn't sleeping. So
other side note, getting here really early and seeing you here really early was weird.
Mhm.
That never happens. I'm an early riser. You're a late worker.
That's
the way it goes.
I'm a night owl.
So you were here at like 7 o'clock.
No, I was here like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. I got here and you were already here, and that's weird. So
I had put a note on the door that said, I am not here. And I had put do not disturb on my phone. Right.
That's right. Yeah.
And how many minutes do you think I got uninterrupted during that day?
Probably 3.
Probably at most. I think the longest stretch I clocked was maybe 15 minutes of not being interrupted.
Set the stage. I'm at trial.
Yes.
Brian has a sign on his door saying, leave me alone. It doesn't even say like back off bitches or something like that. Trying to
I
send
had to
the message.
enhance it for the next day.
That's right. That's what it was. So I don't know that our office manager has now announced she's going to leave. I do the first day of trial. And as I drive out to come back to the office, I noticed that one of the jurors picked is in a car wreck right outside of the courthouse. And I feel really bad for the guy. The next day, he says that he's got some issues with it. We have a hearing on it, and we agree to excuse him. So we are down to 12 now, okay? So we have the bare minimum. We then go through the entirety of the trial, and it's a hard-fought trial between us and the prosecution. Personally, I thought it went very well for the defense. And I want to conclude this trial. My client wants to conclude this trial. Like we've hit all the points. We're ready for a decision.
The evidence was pretty heavily in our client's favor.
In my view, and the prosecutor might disagree, but that's the way I viewed it. I put on my evidence, meaning so the state rested, defense put on theirs. The only thing we have left to do is what's called rebuttal. The state's going to put on some rebuttal evidence that's saying that some of the things I put on were incorrect. I don't know what they're about to put on, but I came back for lunch. I'm in my office and I'm preparing my closing argument, and I've got a little slide that I'm preparing. Brian comes into my office.
Well, let me tell you why I came into your office.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because no one would leave me the fuck alone. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, buddy.
I didn't get more than 15 minutes uninterrupted. I was not in a great place to begin with. I was so pissed off that if I were just working on my brief and been left alone, I wouldn't have come out when I heard you back from trial. I would have stayed in there and just kept working on it.
But instead, you're interrupted.
I had accomplished nothing on the brief. I was pissed off. I'm like, well, I'm going to go see how the trial's going.
So I had taken out my jury list and set it on my desk, and Brian comes in and goes, is this your jury?
It fell off your desk onto the floor.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
I didn't even know. I don't even remember that. Brian said, is this your jury? And he said, we got a problem. And he pointed to a name and said, this juror just applied to work for Hilverda McRae.
I had seen the applicants that had come in the last couple of days.
And I've got to be honest, for a split second, I thought, I'm just going to ignore it. But it was only a split second. We're held to certain ethical standards. And to me, that raised a potential conflict of interest for a juror.
For sure.
So
we couldn't hold on to it and not say anything.
No. So all of these things, Tammy leaving, me starting it, not knowing that we had made an application, Brian writing this brief. It was a weird week that culminated in this moment. And I felt horrible for my client. I went to the prosecutor. I gave him the information. We went to the judge. We eventually called the juror in, and there was
who had no idea.
Yeah. And she didn't even know that she had applied to the firm that the attorney that she was watching the trial in front of was taking place.
Right.
And,
because
but either way, she said some things that caused us some concern, and the judge declared it a mistrial because we didn't have any other alternatives.
Normally,
Really?
had they just excused her,
Yeah.
like then they would have had 12, but you had already excused a juror
That's right.
because of the car wreck.
That's right.
So the car wreck had to happen. I had to have this brief. Everybody had to ignore the sign on my door and bother me. The wind had to blow the jury sheet off of your desk and it fell at my feet. And she happens to have a fairly unique last name, so I recognized it.
Yeah.
All
And
of those
all
things.
of that had to come into play for me to have this trial that was well fought and horrible. And I felt bad. Like I felt like I had caused a mistrial. I didn't do anything.
I felt bad. I was like, I caused the mistrial.
The juror felt bad.
She felt bad.
She thought she caused it. And really it was this fluke from a car wreck to another one to where now we've had a hearing. We're retrying it in July.
Yeah. It's she felt terrible. And I said, no one could have predicted this series of events,
And
but
so-
it'll lead to a very interesting job interview.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully she will still come in and apply because she was a strong applicant.
She was great.
But all of that being said, it was a weird week.
Have you ever had a weird job interview, Steve?
I've had a couple weird job interviews. So believe it or not, when we were in law school, so Brian and I were in the same law school class.
Yeah, we
And I'm sure you're going to talk about your application. But let me say this. I was solidly pissed in 2007 to 2008. So we're up in law school and we would get these big firms that would announce, we're going to come up and interview. And I would put in my application and like, I've got writing experience and all this. I've got good grades. I never got an interview. And Mr. Insurance over here is getting interviewed like nobody's business. Everybody comes in, he's getting offers, and I'm sure you'll talk about this, but that he's rejecting jobs. And I am so desperate for a job that I'm like, I will take anybody. But during that phase, I interviewed for some prosecutor's office. That's right. Steve McRae tried to be a prosecutor.
Listen, when you're graduating from law school, you want any job. Like you'll put an application.
Not
in.
nowadays, they can have the pick of the litter. But in
but back-
2008,
2008, that was
when
not
the
the case.
economy's crashing,
Yeah.
like not a chance. Like I had no job opportunities. I was networking like crazy and nobody was hiring. And so I made application to two prosecutors' offices in Western Idaho, Canyon County and Ada County. First Ada County. Ada County, we go through the whole job application and I can tell I'm nailing it, right? They're interested in me. I'm interested. It paid pretty well at the time. And it was like 2/3 of the offers you were getting, jackass. And, but either way, I'm nailing it. And at the conclusion, they said, do you have any questions? And I was stupid enough-ish to,
or smart enough, depending on your perspective.
exactly, to ask the question. And I asked, what discretion do you give to prosecutors? Meaning, if you hire me, are you going to tell me every step I have to take? Or am I going to have some discretion as a trained lawyer to make calls on myself? And I could tell in asking that question, it turned them off entirely. They did not want free thinkers. They did not want somebody that might challenge them. They just wanted somebody to do what they said. I did not get the job offer.
Looking back, though,
I'm thrilled.
yeah.
I'm thrilled. I made that question and I walked away going, oh my gosh, they hated that. I'm not going to get that job offer, but it made me really question whether I wanted that job in the first place.
right.
The other prosecutor's office, and then I'll turn it over to you to brag about all the freaking job offers you
Talk
made.
about how awesome
I
I
almost
am.
had to say, I'm sorry, Bonnie. But the last one I had was I was applying for a job here, which I eventually took. At the same time, I was applying for a prosecutor's position, and the prosecutor of Canyon County sent us a disc that was like a mock case that we had to write a brief. We had to go and present an oral argument. We had to say how we would present it to a jury. And it was a ton of work for this job. And I was like, I'm a good applicant. And I did not want to have to do this. but I started preparing, and in the middle of it, I got a job offer here. And then I called, and the prosecutor's like, no, you're our number one. Just come on. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And that was the end of that.
That was the end of that.
So unfortunately, I did not go through the awkward phase of pitching a mock trial in a
To
job
the prosecutor.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Okay, so
I had,
go ahead,
brag.
brag.
I had 2 reasons that people wanted to talk to me. Right? These big firms that come in, they do a ton of work that's called insurance defense. They get hired by an insurance company to defend somebody that's been in a car wreck, or somebody who has a building up in Ketchum, Idaho, and somebody drunk gets up on it and falls off, and they defend them if they get sued, things like that. If you were to,
let's call a spade a spade. If you would have taken those jobs, you would not look the way that you look today.
no, they are uptight, super old style, leather bound books kind of law firms, right? But I had worked for the insurance company. I had been an adjuster, and that's who these guys work with when they bill.
Right.
And when they're working cases is these adjusters. And so that's, part of what pushed me into law school was that. And so I had that experience, when it was pretty unique for a law student to have that. And so the big firms wanted to talk to me because of that. And yeah, they offered me some jobs because of that. I also knew that I hated insurance companies. But I wanted the experience interviewing. And again, you're sort of at the point of like, well, you're nervous. I had a family. I
It's
had kids.
2008. The economy is
like
crashing.
you're applying for everything. Number 2, I got interviews because the summer before we were interviewing for all those jobs, I had worked in the U.S. Senate.
That's right. Wait, who did you work for, Brian?
For Senator from Idaho, long-time senator from Idaho, Larry Craig.
What?
And it just happened.
Oh, sorry. My foot just started tapping weirdly.
And it was that summer.
Do you know that story?
Great
I don't.
experience.
I would
So,
love to hear it.
Senator Larry Craig was caught in an airport bathroom tapping his foot, which was a sign.
That was him?
Yes, that
Yes.
was him. And
Yeah,
Brian was
okay.
working for him.
I was working for
during
him.
that time.
It was a very sort of a prestigious thing to get for the summer. Like a lot of students went for it. I got it. I went, I was like, I have got this shiny thing on my resume. And I know what a lot of people are thinking right now. Brian worked for a Republican.
You're not Republican? Right.
I actually told them when they interviewed me, I'm like, hey, I'm not a Republican. And I'm pretty liberal. And they're like, great, Larry will love that. He'll love somebody thinking from the other side. And they hired me. So credit to them for being open,
Yeah. He just thought you were hot. Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I come back from law school with this awesome thing on my resume. And it was funny as hell because I'd get these interviews and I'd walk in and they'd be looking at my resume and they'd go, so tell us about what you did last 2 summers ago. And I was like, what? You don't want to talk about the elephant in the room? They're like, we didn't want to ask. Because it was literally, I was walking into class the first day back after the summer break, and the office called me and said, hey, there's something's going to come out in the news in a couple hours and you just need to be aware of it before people start asking. And I was like, oh, geez. It had literally been days since I had finished the job and went back to law school.
Homosexual Republican senator.
Anonymous sex in a Minneapolis bathroom.
Okay,
So you
hold on. We'll get back on topic in a second. I want you to search your heart and the deep recesses of your mind that you might have blocked.
Okay.
Okay.
You know the state of my mental health right now, but that's okay. Go ahead. We're going to do this.
Did he ever come on to you?
He did not.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
All right,
quite sure.
All right. Okay, I'll
My
accept that.
interactions with him, with his staff, with everybody were great. I respect the hell out of him. I admired the work he did, especially that summer. He went out on a limb with his own party. And
Is that what he told you to say after he paid you?
Mhm.
Okay.
and I have no problem with anything other than the fact that I kind of think random anonymous airport sex is weird.
For the record,
Regardless of whether it's straight, gay, otherwise,
airport
furry.
sex is weird.
that just seems
Did you
weird
just
to me.
bring up furries?
I did.
It's the second mention of furries this evening.
It was good.
3 and we're
For
going to
the
summon
record,
one.
I have established a potential that Brian Hilverda has been paid off by a Republican senator for a sex scandal. But either way. Okay, so
I can neither confirm nor deny.
so
I come back.
You
I
signed
do
a
all the-
non-disclosure. Okay, you come back.
I do all these interviews. I started getting offers from these big firms that do insurance defense work. And I was really kind of struggling because I was like, I want a job. And these are, prestigious firms and they'll make me a partner someday. And they had like suit budgets and shit like that. And
They had suit budgets? Wait, was that part of your interview? I don't know because I was never
it was
part
part
of
of
these
the
interviews.
offer of like salary plus time off
Plus suit budget?
to buy a new suit like every year. Got like $800 to go buy a nice
Does
fancy
Hilverda
suit.
McRae have a suit budget?
Yeah, it's this.
Dixon flannels. We got a Dixon flannel budget.
Anyway, and I was like, this is going to make me miserable. And I knew it because I had done it for years before going to law school. And so I turned him down. The dean of the law school called me in, Dean Burnett.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's like, what are you doing?
I didn't know this.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to do insurance defense. And he's like, these are like the most prestigious firms in Idaho. And you're turning them down. I made a partner at one of these firms like yell at me on the phone when I just asked for time to consider the offer. I asked for a few days to think about it. And he's like, we are this and this, and we are the best law firm in this state. How could you even not just jump on this right away?
Here's the deal.
And I said, you just gave me every reason
Right.
to not jump on this right away.
if they made me a job offer back then, I would have been their bitch.
Mhm.
I would have done whatever. I was so desperate. I networked with 127 lawyers in the Boise area. I networked through, went in, had meetings with them, had lunches with them, had dinners with them. So I was so desperate and I had 0 job offers. 0. I found out that there was a judge in Gooding, Idaho that had hired a law clerk, and that law clerk ghosted him, went away. And I heard about this, so I cold called this judge. This is how desperate I was. I run over. This is a good job interview story too.
Yeah.
I run over. He's like, I'll interview you today. I get out of my job. I hightail over to Gooding, Idaho, about a 2-hour drive. I walk in, I meet with him, and great judge. Okay.
Yes.
Judge Wood at a Gooding.
Aside from his lack of understanding of the economic loss rule.
I
But
wrote that decision and it was against Brian. I'm sorry. That's a topic for another day. But I meet with Judge Wood and he says, where are you from? And I said, Homedale, Idaho, little Homedale. And he perked up and said, where did you grow up in Homedale? Come to find out, I farmed the farm that Judge Wood grew up on.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Like the farm that he walked out every day and saw the farm was the farm that my family leased. And I had farmed it for about 6 years.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I walked out going, he can't not make me a job offer.
Right.
And sure enough, by the time I got back to Boise, he made me a job offer and it was a great job. He's a fantastic judge. I was his final law clerk. And
Before you retired.
yeah, before he retired. And now he's doing work with the Supreme Court and with the Rules Committee and doing great work.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
Let me tell you about when I didn't get the job offer.
Whoa, hold on. Hold the phone. There was a time, because hold on, before you get to Brian didn't get a job offer, let me tell you the story from second year of law school.
1 second. The more excited you get, the more you overhang your mic.
I'm sorry. I will stop
Move
getting
it back
excited.
a bit. You're good. You're good.
I've had a little vodka.
You're just climbing over your mic.
Second year of law school.
turkey waddle's going to hit the mic.
I know. It'll start. Second year of law school, there are 6 of us studying together. Okay. One of them is now a judge. 2 of them practice law down in Utah.
Yeah.
With successful practices. But I had transferred in, and here's Brian, and I don't know these guys very well. That changed over time. But here's Brian going to these job interviews and getting every damn job interview there was. And all of us jealous and wanting the jobs that he's rejecting. So please, I'm waiting with bated breath to hear the job interview that you turned down.
No.
Jackass.
I didn't turn it down.
Oh.
I didn't get an offer after it. It may have been the only one of all my interviews, but
This is 2008, Steve. saying, fuck you, I'm sorry, Bonnie.
Sorry, Mom. I'm just too good and it makes Steve mad. No, I had applied for the Washington State Attorney General's office. And
What?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, in their civil department. And they
Were you not left wing enough for them in Washington State?
No, just wait. So they called me up. They set up the interview. It was in Spokane, so I had to go to Spokane. I think I did an initial interview on campus.
Okay, hold on. You act like that's far away. That's like an hour away from law school.
Yeah, it
Idaho
wasn't
time,
far.
that's nothing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't far, but it wasn't on campus. I think they did some initial ones on campus and then brought in like their next round to the office in Spokane. And I was like, okay, so I go up there. I'm in my little suit and whatnot, and I go in, and
This is 2008. Nobody wore little suits. We all wore
That's true.
baggy as
it was
shit
baggy.
suits.
I was a big boxy square,
There you go.
big boxy square of sexiness, and
You said it.
yeah. Anyway, I go in and I'm interviewing with this woman and this man, both of which have been in practice about 15 years, about like where we are right now. And we sit in this room. It's like a glass conference room, so everybody can see us, but nobody can hear us because it's all closed up. And I sit down and we do the little pleasantries. And then she pulls up my resume like this. And she's like, wow, Brian, I am just so impressed. You have the most wonderful package. I just can't see you. Like, you are the whole package. Like, this package is, she must have said package like 89 times. And I'm like,
hold
okay.
on. I understand the potential innuendo. Was she coming on to you?
No,
So
she was
for
not.
the record,
For the record,
Larry Craig and some gal from Washington
here's the thing. I'm
is
sitting
coming
there
on to
going,
Brian. That's what's happening.
I am sitting there going, because I am like the most immature person in every room that I'm in.
Right.
I am internally, I am losing my shit. Like, I am just like, she has got to stop saying package and talking about my package. And I'm like, I can't. And so I'm just kind of like trying to stare down here, and I look up and I see the dude, and he is doing this.
Every time she said package.
Yes. And that was it for me. I started laughing and he starts laughing. She has no idea why we're laughing. It was this awkward moment. No one wanted to explain it to her. So I was like, and anyway, interview ended. I was out of there like, no way I'm working here. And that was the one interview I didn't get an offer from, is because the topic of my great package came up in the interview.
This podcast is more about our history than it is any legal
Anything
advice.
else? Yes.
These were the obstacles that we went through
To get to this point.
to get to this point. So the end of the story was I took a job with a firm here, and I remember the thing that I could tell when I said it. The firm that hired me here they were all in. They asked me, they were like, hey, what should we know about you? And I said, you know what? I grew up on a farm, and all this is true. And I said, you know, I grew up knowing how to work really hard. I said, I'm going to work harder than anybody you have, which ended up being true. You know this.
You are the hardest worker I've ever met in my life.
Right. I work really, really hard. I
Yes.
get in early. I work late. I just take a level of intensity. But I told them this line, and I could see them perk up like, oh. I said, and it's cheesy. I said,
Cheesy like Cheesy Mac?
exactly.
Okay.
That was my law school nickname. But I told them, I said, here's the deal, guys. You can throw anything at me. Just don't make me put together a wheel line, like irrigation wheel line. I said, don't make me put together a wheel line, and I'm fine. And I could tell these two guys, and I'd done my research. They grew up in Buell, Idaho.
They knew.
They knew.
Yeah.
And I walked out going, I'm getting that job interview. And they did. I worked for them for 2 years. A great experience. And then I set up my own firm. All the while you were working for another firm that was not an insurance defense firm. And we sort of had this weird start. And then 10 years ago, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
And now we're on I Fought the Law, episode 8.
And not complaining, but sharing a story about how we're hiring somebody. And it threw off a trial for me.
Yeah.
How many employees do we have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Arizona too.
7?
7.
I don't know.
7, soon to be 8 or 9, maybe 10 if we. So yeah, it's exciting. It's
a lot.
awesome to see just life progress and go. When you said these lawyers that were 15 years out, basically where we are now, made me feel really old.
Really old.
Because it feels like law school was a few days ago.
Because she was old enough to not know
What
that
package
talking
meant.
about my package might be why that might be problematic.
Oh, well, I'll take it as a sign of good things, knowing that when I talk about your package, I know exactly what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
you do.
All right.
All right, friends. We'll see you on episode 9. It's going to be awesome. We may or may not be having Warfield vodka mules in that episode as well. Thank you for listening. And if you have questions, reach out on the email address or comment page on all the different platforms and keep fighting that law.
I don't know
that's
how,
going to be
I don't
my
know
new
how
sign-off.
any of this works. So just reach out to us in whatever way you can. Thanks,
Yes.
guys.